Rav Hutner, of course, was the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Rabbeinu Chaim Berlin in New York. He was a student in Slobodka in Europe. He went with the Rosh Yeshiva Slobodka to Hebron. He was in Hebron. He developed a tremendous relationship with Rav Kook and Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld was the Rav of the Eidei Charedet, and Rav Kook was the Rav of Yerushalayim. He was very close to Rav Kook. In fact, in his early years, Rav Hutner, when he returned to America, there were two pictures in his sukkah. One was Rav Kook, and the other was Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch. At the age of 70, he came to Eretz Yisrael for the final time, and when most people are thinking of retiring, he started a yeshiva here, Yeshiva Pachad Yitzchak, which is today run by his son-in-law, Rav Yonason David, whose wife is, Aleh Sholem, died last year, Rebbetzin Bruria David, who was the dean of BJJ, the Harvard of women's seminaries in the Haredi world. She herself, Rav Hutner's only child, she had a doctorate from Hunter College. So all of this, I hope, is not going to be filmed. Let's get to the point. Okay, Rav Hutner, Rav Hutner is an unusual Baal Machshava, probably the Baal Machshava of the 20th century. Okay, famous Gemara, we're all familiar with it. Shlosha Sforim Niftachim. There are 3 Sforim that are opened, that the Rebbeinu Shalom opens on Rosh Hashanah, right? Tzadikim Gemurim, thoroughly righteous people, Nechtamim La'alter L'chaim. They are sealed immediately for long life. Rishoyim Gemurim, the opposite, people thoroughly Rishoyim, La'alter Lebisa. They are signed immediately and signed, sealed, and delivered to death. Ubeinonim, that's going to be our topic. The Beinonim, the people in the middle. Taluyim v'omdim ad Yom Kippurim. They are in suspense until Yom Kippur. We're familiar with that Gemara so far. Familiar territory. Continues the Rambam. This is the halacha. This is the Gemara rather. Zachu. Listen carefully. Zachu. If the Beinoni, the guy in the middle, or the girl in the middle, right, is merits nechtamim l'chaim, then they are sealed for life. If they merit. Lo zachu. If they did not merit, nechtamim lemisa, then they are sealed to death. The Rambam brings this halacha. HaRambam had tik braisazu, shina loshen hagemara, but he makes a dramatic change in one word in the Gemara. The besugyan haloshen hu zachu. The Gemara says that if the man in the middle merits, so he is nechtamim l'chayim. V'harambam shina haloshen. And what does he say? Im asu tshuva nechtamim l'chayim. If he does tshuva, he is sealed for life. B'makom zchut b'chlal, instead of a merit. It's not a general he merits, but he has to do something. He has to do tshuva. Higbil et ha'inyan l'tshuva dafka. The Rambam focuses in on, it's all about tshuva for the Beinoni, right? Tshuva, not just a merit. Maybe there's other merits. I don't know, he says, but now here's the thing. He brings a question from Maran Hagon Mari Blazer, the Rav Yitzchak Blazer. Rav Yitzchak Blazer was one of the 3 famous Talmidim of Rav Yisrael Salanter, the founder of the Musar movement. He was also known as Rav Itzela Petterberger because he was the chief rabbi of St. Petersburg, which today is Leningrad. And it's a fascinating story how he became the chief rabbi. He lived in a small town where his wife was running a grocery store. He sat in the back and was learning Torah and was writing Torah. But they found him. They knew who he was, and they came from St. Petersburg to offer him the position. And they sat with him and said, we're offering you the position. He says, I can't take the position. Why? I'm afraid to paskin shilas. They said, you're hired. We don't want someone who glibly, it's not a shaila, it's okay, fine, yes, no, aser, mutter. We want someone who has yiras shamayim. And he became the rabbi of St. Petersburg, a tremendous Godel. But he asks a question here that bothers Rav Hutner. He asks a question like this. Why does the Rambam change it, right? So here's what he asks. He he feels mikan tamia rabasa. A serious question. Dahare habenoni huzeh shemaasav shkulim. Who's the Benoni? He's got 50. Let's use 100, right? Is our base point. So he's got 50 zuchuyot and 50 chiyuvim, right? He's got 50 merits and 50 demerits, right? Ve'ein latov hachro al hara. So what do you do? Ve'im kain kol zchut shetiyeh. Anytime he has a merit, tiyeh mashetiyeh, whatever it will be, biyada lahotziu michlal palgal. Let him do one mitzvah. So he's now 51-49, right? Lahachniso liklal rubo zechuyot. So then he's now rubo zechuyot. He has a majority of merits. Ulischuto lechatima lechayim tovim. So now he merits. He's got the zechuyot. He's got 51/49. Let him. What's his business of tshuva? Let him just do one more mitzvah, right? That's Rav Yitzchak Blazer's question. So Rav Hutner is going to answer this, and he's going to, with respect to Rav Yitzchak Blazer, he's going to give us a real understanding of what the man in the middle is all about. Not as simple as we just expressed. Number B. Amnam. Tamiyazu timtza lanu mikor motzi yafeh levirur hamabat shel rubo zchuyot v'rubo averot bichlal. This question gives me an excuse, he says, to flush out the real meaning of what it means to someone who has a majority of zchuyot, of merits, and someone who has a majority of demerits. It's a much longer piece. I'll fill in the blanks. It's not everything you see here. It's much longer than this. In any case, ribui avonot kimusag kimoti. In other words, definitely it is a quantitative. It's a mathematical, quantitative thing. If I have a majority of demerits or a majority of merits, kilomar. In other words, afal pi shebevadai ein hamispar. Chaguram habiladi leshikul shel ruba zechuyot le'evech. It's not always only purely mathematical, he says. Mikol makom. That being said, ein ledaleg kan al habchina hakamotit. But you have to. It's a baseline of mathematics, but it's not purely mathematics, because we spoke about this last week. For those who were here, the bevada yeshna tova achat. Sometimes you can do like a gold star mitzvah, right? Which will knock off 20 demerits, right? So it's not purely mathematical, right? And it can go the other way. Afilu mishkala ota tova shel ota ra mitchalef b'sha achat lechaverta. But it can change. At any minute it can change. Kemoshe katav Rambam, the Rambam writes, the mishkal zeh hu mishkalo shel kel deot. But who makes the decision? We said last week, this Rambam. How do you decide, right? We live here in Eretz Yisrael. We do all the mitzvahs. We come to study Torah on a Thursday morning, right? We keep Shabbat, whatever, good stuff, whatever chesed everybody does, right? But we do everything, right? It's coming, Rosh Hashanah's coming, Yom Kippur's coming, we feel pretty confident. Then there's a guy in Wichita, Kansas, right? Who's not Shomer Shabbos. He doesn't do anything. One thing he does, he keeps kosher. And his Moser Nefesh to spend a fortune to fly in meat from Denver, so he keeps kosher. Who has more merit points, right? Well, only the Ribbono Shel Olam decides. And obviously the Ribbono Shel Olam is going to decide on this guy if we're not up to muster, right? So that's what he's saying. That being said, Noi de Mishkal Hazchuyot Bachovat Hu Mishkal Eichuti. So you see that this mathematical measure is also not just quantitative, it's also qualitative, right? Mikol Makom. That being said, Hachefza Shel HaMishkal Hazeh, the actual object of this measurement, Dahainu hadvarim shebemishkal, the things that are on the scale, zeh shokelhem sikum kamiyut mitzvot averot. But it's a scale. So the scale is going to determine both the quantity and the quality. It's a fascinating scale the Ribbono Shel Olam uses. It doesn't only measure quantity, but it also measures the quality of the item that's on the scale. Dahainu hadvarim shebemishkal ze shokel hem sikum shel komiyut mitzvot avaverot. It's the amount of mitzvahs and averas. Kazu hi tfisata shel shigrat hamachshava b'musagim halalu shel ribu mitzvot v'rigu averot. So on a simple level, it's like it says, right? But there's a problem with that, and I'm going to fill in some of the blanks that are not here before we do the last paragraph. If it's only quantitative, it really doesn't make sense, because you're coming up to Yom Kippur, right? So it's busy. You're doing mitzvah. You get up in the morning. I go to shul. I don't go to shul. I do put on tefillin. I light candles this week. I don't. I do whatever. It's constantly going up and down, up and down. It's So at what point? So you mean by Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur, the Rebbeinu Shalom stops the clock, right? That's not it, right? It doesn't make sense to us, right? That can't be how it works. So really, what he's going to, even somebody, he says, he's going to develop what he's going to give us in this last paragraph. It's incredible. It's a majestic idea. He says that rubo zechuyot and rubo chovot is not about the numbers. It's about the persona. It's about who you are. In other words, you can have a person who his personality is, he's rubo zechuyot. He's a really good person. He's a very good person, right? He's rubo zechuyot. So, and then you have a person who's a terrible person. So let's say the rubo zechuyot gets angry once in a while. He'll get angry. But the anger of the balkas, the real Rosh, who's a real balkas, that's his MO. He's an angry person all his life, right? His anger is, the anger of the person who's a rubo zechuyot is on a much different degree of anger, right? Qualitatively, right? So now listen to what he says. Listen to what he's saying here about the man in the middle. For rubo zechuyot or rubo averot, this line, eino schum shel pratim. It's not about what you do. Elamida shebenefesh. It's about who you are. It's about your neshama, your nefesh. It's about who you, not what you do. Rabbi doesn't judge by what we do. He judges by who we are. Look, how we do what we do, right? Mabat chadash. This is a new look. Zebi Yado Lishlol Ta'anato Shel Maran Rabbi. So this way I'm going to, with all respect, he says, I'm going to deflect and reject Rav Itzla's point. Rav Itzla, I have an answer for you. It's not a problem, right? It's not about math, right? Rav Itzla Toeh, Rav Itzla says, Kimikivan she habenoni hu mechzal mechza. Since the benoni is the man in the middle, he's 50%. Imkein. Hello, maspik lo lasot lahosif zchut achat al zechuyotav. Let him just add one mitzvah, right? L'zchut b'chatima tova shel Yom Kippurim. Good, no, you got chatima tova, right? Davenila mar, go home and have your suda. You're finished. You're good. V'lama hiskik harambam et. Why does the Rambam reject this idea? Lama hiskik harambam et habenani lasiat tshuva dafka. The Rambam says no. The Rambam changes the words of the Gemara because the Rambam is explaining the Gemara. The Gemara is not about math alone, right? Amnam achshav anoroim. Now we see at shlilita shel tainazu. Now we see the weakness of the question, the premise of Rav Itzla's question. Shahari lefi mashanit ba'er lanu. What we understand now, ki rubo zechuyot himida benefesh. It's about who you are. It's not about what you do. And rubo averot humida benefesh. Majority of bad of averas is not about what you do; it's about who you are. Kamokein bevadai gam habenoniyut humida benefesh. So to the guy in the middle, it's also about who you are, or who you aren't yet, right? In other words, kolomar adam, the person ha'adam hazeh, the guy in the middle, the man in the middle, right? Mityachesu el hara ve'el hatov mibli shetiye lo benafsho hizdahut. He has no tudat zehut. He has no identity. He has no zehut. He doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know what to do. He likes the good life, but he also really likes to go to shul. He likes to learn Torah. He would like to do more, but he doesn't know which way to go. So he goes this way. He goes that way. He's what we say wishy-washy. He's constantly going back and forth, right? His neshama is in crisis. He's dahut, he has no zehut, he has no identity. He has to discover, he has to make a commitment. what his identity is. Im echad mehem. He has no, he's Dahud im echad mehem, one way or the other. Mirato shel ha-Beinoni, the persona of the Beinoni, he, Mida shel choser, he's Dahud. That's the personality of the Beinoni. He has no identity. We don't know where he stands. We just don't know where he stands. He doesn't know where he stands. Hamidah zu ta'amod be'ena u'betokva afilu im yitosfu lo kama zuchoyot. It doesn't matter. He can come Yom Kippur to shul. He can klap al chet 100 times, 6 times, 9 times. All the al chets, right? But it doesn't change. He'll lose. He'll get the mitzvahs. He'll klap al chet very seriously. But after Yom Kippur, what's going to be with him, right? It's not enough just to klap al chet, right? Afilu im yosif zechuyot ad she'yisrabu pi kama lachavot. Even if on Yom Kippur everything it goes, he breaks the bank and he's full of mitzvahs, right? And no averas, right? All day Yom Kippur. That's what happens. What can happen to us, right? Adayin mirato hu mirat beinu. But at the end of the day, he's still the man in the middle. He doesn't know which way to go, and we don't know where God is going to take him. V'kol zman shemirato nivchenet hi b'mivchan ha-beinoniyut. And as long as his persona is in the middle, ein kan makom lechatima letova. He can't be signed and sealed and signed for Chaim. He can't, right? Because that's not who he is. V'asher al ken shapir shina Rambam miloshna Gemara. Now we understand. It's beautiful Rambam. How to take one word in the Rambam. Why the Rambam changed that word? V'ha'amid et asiyat hatshuva b'makom zchut, right? From zchut to tshuva, right? To define for us what the man in the middle is. Ki kavanas hatshuva bekan the purpose of tshuva is shetikein et midat ha-beinoniyut shelo. He has to confront his wishy-washy nature spiritually. He has to confront it. He has to make a serious decision. Do I go right? Do I go left? Which way do I go? V'rak ha-tshuva. And the way to do that is tshuva. Tshuva, the process of tshuva is what, not just saying I'm sorry for what I did, but I'm sorry for what I was, right? But rak hatshuva he shetachnisoto lemechitzat rubo zechuyot. This is the one thing that's going to move him into the identity of a person who is the majority of mitzvot, v'yechtom la'alter l'chayim, and he will be signed and sealed for chayim. Okay? I told you it'd be worth it. Okay? I'm really sorry to keep you waiting. Really, Rav Soloveitchik also had something very beautiful, and Rav Baruch, but Od Chazon L'Moed, we'll save it for another time. Next week, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, B'li Neder, Im Yirtzeh Hashem, we will be here on time. And what I want to do next week with you is a little different. I want to do a Shabbat Shuva Drasha with you, which I'm going to be doing in Johannesburg. So I'm not going to be here to do it. So I want to share it with you, and I think it'll be worthwhile topic-wise, because the topic is Yom Kippur Shechal Liot B'Shabbat, which is what we have this year. Yom Kippur comes out on Shabbos. Is that a calendric, right, incidence, that it just works out that way in the calendar? Or is it something much deeper, that it's not an accident? And there's something about Shabbat and Yom Kippur, a symbiotic relationship between Shabbos and Yom Kippur, which adds something to Yom Kippur this year, which we do not have every Yom Kippur of the years, okay?